supporter games are back. You know what would be nice about that is if we did get a trustworthy group of people all in some custom games that were playing legit, not stream sniping, not hacking, then we could avoid hackers completely. All right, let's take a look, guys. This might be some additional info. Let's see what Jack has to say about this.
This will be one of 3 available multiplayer experiences
And everybody else
in the new
too.
game,
Okay.
featuring content at launch from BF 1942, Bad Company 2, BF3, and 2042. I was lucky enough to be shown a detailed behind-the-scenes presentation about this on Tuesday. It's quite complex, but I'm going to break it down.
He got a behind-the-scenes presentation of it on Tuesday. There you go. So he might have some additional info here that we can take a look at.
As possible. At its core, think of this as a giant battle.
Okay, let's see. Community experiences, the builder, arsenal, 40 weapons, 30 gadgets, 40 vehicles is what's behind my head here. You can take a look. Earn XP and rank no matter where you play. That's also actually nice. And this is something that's also been available even when we've played previous Battlefields, right? Even if you had your own custom server that you played on, that XP still transferred over to the actual levels that you were playing. So it wasn't like you were in your own little world like it is in Call of Duty with some of it. Battlefield 1942, Bad Company 2, Battlefield 3, 7 maps.
Battlefield toy box, and within that is an experience builder, giving the players the options to create, share, and discover. You'll be able to make your own custom servers and game modes using builder tools and a logic editor, mixing and matching content from all of those Battlefield games that I just mentioned. At launch, this will feature 6 remade fan favorite maps, as well as the 7 all-out warfare maps from 2042, bringing the total to 13. The remade maps are as follows. From BF 1942, we've got Battle of the Bulge and El Alamein. From Bad Company 2, Valparaiso,
this is going to be interesting.
Arica Harbor, and from Battlefield 3,
because they can also expand on this.
No Shark Canals.
They could add Battlefield 4.
On the new
Hardline.
Frostbite engine, rebuilt assets in 4K
5.
60 FPS with the latest graphics and reimagined with the new tech available. For example, the 1942 maps
FPS?
will now feature destruction
On
and
my
weather
PC, baby.
effects, which they didn't originally have. And Valparaiso will have
actually
a
pretty cool.
low tide version as an option to accommodate 128 players if you want to do that.
Oh,
All of
that's
these maps
pretty
can be
cool.
played with their original player counts too, and on
Because
the
that's the thing too. A lot of these old, like the old maps, they definitely didn't support 128 players. That is that's a doubling of what the previous maps were.
And PC, you can run up to 128 players if you choose to. Xbox One will be 64 players only, the same as their all-out warfare experiences.
Makes sense.
Additionally, they said that as new content is added to the game in live service, it will also be added to Portal as well. Some of the fan favorite weapons, vehicles, and gadgets have been remade too. This isn't just about maps. I've made some graphics here to showcase what will be available for those eras of games when 2042 releases. Feel free to pause the screen, screenshot and share any of this if you'd like to. They've got all the big hitters in here, from the M16A3 to the Kar 98, the T90, the Havoc. I'm just so glad that they added the B-17 bomber, otherwise known as the Flying Fortress from 1942, because we used to have a blast flying that thing around with multiple crewmates back in the day. So you've got all these tools and toys. What kind of things can you make? Well, they gave us some basic examples, which were as follows. Do you want to see World War II soldiers versus BF 2042 soldiers? Do you want to make a free-for-all deathmatch? Do you want to make a gun game?
Free-for-all? That's actually not typical in Battlefield at all. Gun game, all air weapons. That would be insane.
Do you want to do 64 knives versus 64 repair tools? Do you want to see if 20 Tiger tanks could beat 5 M1 Abrams tanks? You make whatever you want, really, within the limits of the builder. So what are those limits and how do you build
that's
stuff?
what that's the question,
right? We got to see a
right?
demo of a snipers versus shotgun mode being built, and this is done on a web-based platform. The devs told us that web-based means that they can update it freely without having to patch the game, and it is accessible from anywhere. And you don't need a copy of the game to build stuff either, but you will need an EA account. We were then presented with a basic builder tool.
So that's making it on a browser,
some
right?
Official preset templates for game modes like Conquest, Rush, Team Deathmatch, etc. And you can then choose that to build off of where most of the initial legwork is done already, or you can start from scratch, completely custom. You then pick your eras. Do you want BF3 versus BC2, for example, or do you just want to make a vanilla 2042 server? You then pick your maps and map rotations, and what's cool about this is that they've made bubbles of maps as an option too. So say you didn't want the whole map, instead you wanted to build a smaller experience, but with 128 players, RPG only, a bit of chaos, and you only want it at the gas station on Caspian border. You then choose the team size. So do you want 40 players max? Do you want it to be asymmetric teams? Do you want to go to the extreme?
That would be crazy too.
127 German.
You get a 5 versus 20 situation, or what we could do even as well, what we did like back in Zombies, we would do 20 or 2, for example, me and Aculite did a 2 versus 98 game. What if we did the Fast Squad 4-man team versus 110 players, all melee only? We've got everything. We got RPGs, we got LMGs, we got everything, and we're trying to rip down people coming after us. Like, imagine the streams and what we could do with this. It would be insane.
World War II soldiers with knives versus one player.
You kill me, you assassinate me, boom. I don't know. You get some merch
With an M240B light machine gun. Or do you want the typical 64 v 64 experience? Next, you can select what classes are available. Do you want to disable snipers? Do you want to make it engineer?
Maybe. You can do free-for-all, 1 life only, no respawn. That's a battle royale, my friends. The problem with that is you're not going to have the zone closing. You're not going to have aspects. But who's to say they don't allow some of the customization so you could do something like that as well?
Yeah, only. And then you can go into that further and disable or enable specific weapons.
They are limited, right? There's limits to what they're going to do.
Do you hate frag rounds on shotguns? Well, just turn them off. And this is where it starts to get really crazy. And we've really been given the keys to the castle. The next
just took an Osprey down with
and it offered a level of customization that I'd never seen before in a Battlefield game. And I'm just going to read through some of these toggleable and slider options.
All right, let's see. These are some options.
Think about what this means. So you can adjust and change friendly fire, projectile speed, weapon damage, weather, head.
Projectile speed and weapon damage. You can make it so bullets move super slow, have ton of drop.
Shot multipliers, aim assist, force reloading of whole magazine.
You can change the aim assist? Like, this is stuff that you don't typically in any custom game get to control.
Scenes, squad revive, slide, sprint, prone,
sliding,
sprint strafe, full damage, health regen. Turn the HUD on and off for all players so you can make a proper hardcore mode. Disable the compass, disable pinging. Anything that you could think of was there. And then after that section, there's AI. Do you want AI to back?
Bro, I totally forgot there was even AI in this thing. You're right. There's AI in the main mode. You could introduce AI into this as well.
Fill your server if a player leaves. Do you want to?
That would mean basically, right? Like if you were playing and you had a smaller community or you just had a couple buddies that you wanted to play with and set up your own custom game or whatever, if you wanted to do the 2 or 3 man versus 100 players and you didn't have 100 random people like, you know, people from chat to come in and just try and come and melee you to death, then you can still set up that experience. We could come up with some of these ideas and have people come in, and then you could just go run it on your own with bots, right?
Test it with all AI. What's the difficulty of the AI? How many AI are allowed on the server? If you wanted to, you could make a PvE experience where it's you in a squad with 3 friends, let's say no health regen, limited ammo versus 124 hard mode AI, and no respawns allowed. And finally, this is the icing on the cake. As an option, you can then go into a more advanced version of the tool known as the logic editor with scripting, and this is going to really enable special experiences to be built. In this, you can create and edit actions.
But you can create actions, you can create rules, okay?
Values, variables, subroutines, literals, control
conditions,
actions, array. You can script the ability to create a server message and notifications when something happens in the game or when someone joins.
Bro, this could be like, I don't know if you guys have seen, this is one of the coolest things that I always talk about I want to do or see. It's like where first of all, like in Minecraft does it really well, but even like in Fortnite, they've got this entire creative world where people obviously create the maps as well as some of the experiences within it. What if you set up a world? What if we have communities set up worlds or missions that people go on? You know, like some of the classic like mini missions that were in some of the Call of Duties, where a set of AI come in and ambush you at certain spots and you've got to go through the map in a completely unknown way or protect something.
And then when you're finished, you're all done, you give your server a name, a description, a password if you want.
I don't know if it goes that deep.
Which will let players know what kind of experience it is, and players will be able to filter tags to find something that they want to try. You then have the option to share it privately or publicly, and it will generate an alphanumeric share code, which you could keep private, send it to a friend. You could share a version of it online that other people could launch your game mode off. They could play, they could look at it and modify it if they wanted to. Is something not quite working as you want to with your game mode? We'll share the editable version of it with someone so they can take a look. Maybe they'll make some suggested logic changes, and then it's your choice if you want to make those changes or not. And as I previously said, if you want to keep it simple and you want to ignore all that and just make a vanilla BF 2042 dedicated server with your favorite maps and rotations and game modes.
Yep. Even outside of the logic and whatnot, this is what I'm thinking I'm going to try and set up for us is like we'll have our own server that people can try and join in on, and like you'll have regular people to play with. This is something I think a lot of people, especially on Warzone, don't really, or even from Call of Duty, don't really understand, because you don't just join in on a game and then it randomly puts you in with a whole bunch of different people. Every game, it's switching everything up. You're in one specific server. So you can create your own server, or you can join in on other people's servers. And then it's kind of like even on a Discord, right? Like we've got our own Discord server. We can have one tied to it. A lot of people have their own with it. But you'll just run into the same people all the time. You can also blacklist and remove people. The problem is, at certain scale, it's not going to be able to fit everybody, but it gives you that option. If you do have like a cool, smaller community that or whatever that can kind of everybody can get around, like you can, or you like a server or a couple servers that you like to play on in particular, you might find a couple people that you end up
because
vibing with
they've
on
got
it or
all those
whatever.
official DICE presets there that you
can
can
be a
quickly
different way to
choose from.
play.
So keeping it more vanilla, let's say you wanted to make a World War II server that just runs the 2 remade 1942 maps and only 1942 weapons, gadgets and vehicles. That's an option. Or do you want to have a server that's all of the 2042 maps
style,
but without specialists? Then make a server that's BF3 era teams and classes only, but give them the 2042 weapons and gadgets. The possibilities here are eye-opening. As for discoverability, in this portal section of BF 2042, DICE will offer some of their own pre-made custom experiences in a carousel which are easy to find. But they will also highlight some of the favorite and most popular community creations too. And you'll be able to use filters, search, and turn tags on and off in a server browser. Wrapping things up at the end of the presentation, there was a Q&A section, and I picked out some of the most interesting responses in that. Official guides will be coming. There'll be good tutorials teaching players more complicated things in that logic editor with Wikipedia-like pages and info. They also expect that the community will make their own video guides and databases. The old school classes are in those respective games. So
whoever does that is probably going to do a good job with it.
Support, recon, and engineer. In BF 1942, you'll have stuff like the anti-tank class. You can use the vehicle calling system across eras. There's currently no geometry or spatial editor. You can't disable specialists. You can't have multiple eras on one team at launch, but you can switch up and out the hardware that they use. There's a classic tuning preset, so you can restore some of the TTK feel, for example, from these older games. You can have a true Bad Company 2 experience where the TTK was the same as that used to be, and you can't prone or sprint strafe. Any server or game mode that you create and then spool up will be on a dedicated server that's hosted by EA, and it's free to create. You've got admin controls on the servers.
Normally, if you wanted to have your own server, it would actually cost you money. You'd have to pay to maintain and have your own server.
You can set passwords, kick bans, set welcome messages, and more. The minimum to make a game is 1 player. BF Portal has crossplay.
That's dope too, because here's the thing. This game's not having any single player in it as well, right? So if you want to have a single player experience, if you are brand new to the game, you need to have a way to learn the game. If you just play it solo, one versus all AI, and all the AI are complete bots and noobs, like that can be a viable way to learn as well and just actually get good, because a lot of people just use the campaign as that experience, right? You go into a game, play through the campaign on easy or even on medium, step it up, especially when you're first starting to learn. That was one of the concerns that I was reading about on it. And definitely
in the same way the main game does. Progression is enabled.
Note that too here.
BF Portal has crossplay in the same way the main game does.
Crossplay supported.
Is enabled on custom server, but there are checks in place. So if you change too many things, XP gain will be restricted, because in theory you could create a game mode where you could just boost through the ranks really quick.
And this is what I was talking about before, where if you have your own custom server, you play your own rules, you can get XP, you can level up, you can playing the way that you want to do. Whereas, for example, in Call of Duty, I'll just use that as a reference here. If you go into a private match, none of that XP transfers over, because obviously you could level up way too fast doing that. But they don't want to make it so that you're not rewarded, at least for playing the game. And this is something I've always appreciated about Battlefield in general, is that you can play in some of these things and you still get XP. If you're playing in somebody's custom rule server, it's still a lot of fun. You still want to grind and level up your weapons and unlock stuff. You can do that and still unlock stuff at the same time. That is good, though, that there is a safeguard, because that is part of the problem. And I still think it will be a problem, even with some of the safeguards they probably have on place, where it's like, okay, you set up the server to maximize your XP gain, where you just line up 100 bots and you just keep killing them on easy with the MG, and they just keep spawning right in front of you, and you're just mowing them down and grinding up your XP to level up the guns. Yeah, but, they're having some type of throttle on that here, and I think that actually makes a lot of sense.
For example, and cheat the system. So there we have it. That's Battlefield Portal at launch. Quite mind-blowing, really. And
it really
I personally never expected something like this to happen for Battlefield. I've always wanted it to. It really is a love letter to the community.
It's a dream, right? Like,
and the reason I'm
all
so
the stuff
hyped
that
about
I've even
this
talked
is
about.
just think about what this could become in 2 years from now. A massive Battlefield toy box to play with.
Yep.
Every time that they make new BF 2042 content, whether that's maps, vehicles, guns, gadgets, it will all be available in Portal. So that's going to exponentially grow what's possible there. And what else could Ripple Effect add to Portal themselves that's unique? You know, it could just be more remade maps.
What if they actually invest in it? What if this turns out to be sick and they really invest in it?
And start adding a dinosaur pack, a zombie pack, pirates, 2142 mechs.
They could add a whole entire Battle Royale pack. That's how Battle Royale started in the first place. It was Arma mod. The game Arma got modded to have this Battle Royale thing in it. And that's how the entire thing was even introduced into the first place of how Battle Royale started to get their hype. Came into H1Z1 after that. Then it came into PUBG. Then it came into Fortnite. And boom, 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 Apex. Here we go. We're all the way into Warzone now, right? Like that was the origination of it. This is where like the creativity can spark, and if they keep investing in it, like this is where there's just so much potential in my eyes.
Maybe even Battlefield Heroes stuff. I personally can't wait to get my hands on this and just play around with it. I mean, that shot in the trailer with the World War
that's the thing, is like, how is it going to actually play? How easy is it to do?
Something about that is just so cool.
Do people join? Is it a good experience?
World War II squad. It just inspires so many ideas. And to think about all the crazy game modes and scenarios that people are going to come up with, and the fact that they are truly embracing that fun sandbox element of Battlefield, just makes me really happy. And I think they're ticking all the right boxes with this. Open beta will be in September, by the way. Forgot to mention that. And that's all